Hi. Thanks for stopping by. This is Friday, January 22nd. And I debated about making this video, but the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to express myself. And so I'm going to title this video A Naive Assessment of Political Parties. And I say naive because I just base it on my own thoughts and feelings and experiences over the decades that I've been politically minded. So there's been a change in the philosophy, I would say, of the political party since I became a registered voter back when I turned 21. I could vote that very same year. That was in 1964. But I guess sometime after that they changed it to 18. But I was 21 when I voted the first time. But back in those days, the Republican Party primarily represented the higher upper class, at least, above working class, higher class, the more wealthy. The Republican Party was primarily known for strong federal or strong local government, a lax federal government. They were more hawkish than the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party, on the other hand, encouraged, let me say, trickle up philosophy of the economic system. And the Republican Party had the trickle down. Let the people, the wealthy people, make the money, and they will distribute the money through their employers, employees, or through purchasing power. And some of those things have kind of changed. But the Democratic Party were the anti-war people were Democrats. The commune and the hippies were normally Democrats. The social justice people were Democrats. I think way back then the Republicans were pro-gun, and also the other side of that, the polarity of that, the peacemongers or the conscientious objectors, anti-gun, were the Democrats. Now, I understand even back, 50 years before that, there was, again, a difference in the platforms of the political parties. I believe back when abortion first became an issue, of course the Christian fundamentalists were anti-abortion. They were even anti-birth control. And of course the Catholic religious party, or the religious dogma, back then, and I think it's changed significantly today, but back then birth control was not allowed, other than what they call the rhythm method, which was just basically abstinence. So nothing else was permitted by the church. So today, what do the political parties look like? Well, back in the radicals back in the 60s were the peaceful demonstrators, or the anti-war demonstrators. So they were all mainly supported the Democratic platform. There were no, as far as I know, there was the racial issue, and racism probably back then aligned, as today, more with the Republican Party. The 60s was the period of marching for racial equality, for equality in education, but it was primarily an issue of African American, black people. And today, racism seems to be white supremacy on one side and everything else on the other side, from what I can gather. So the Republican Party today is fractured, completely fractured. The Lincoln movement were Republicans who were against Trump, never Trumpers. And they're Republicans. They support the Republican Party, the Republican platform of days gone by, and the portion of the Republicans who support Trump. There's the huge faction of the fundamental Christians. And I used to think that was just primarily because of pro-life, but from what I've gathered, it really encompassed more constitutional and civil rights, and I don't know, they're really against any kind of social welfare. I watched a video a couple days ago. It was an interview with Noam Chomsky, and he's a professor, an intellectual, probably one of the most brilliant minds of the past 100 years, I would say. But he talked about the change in political parties over the past. Well, he went back to mainly the 60s. Now, he's in his 90s now, so he's a very old man, but so wise, at least in my perspective. But I really would encourage anyone to search on YouTube for the recent, just a few days ago, interview with Noam Chomsky, just to get a perspective of what the political parties have done during the past 50 years or 60 years, including right up until today, until the current Democratic Party and the current Republican Party. I'm impressed with the Australian political system. In Australia, the voters vote for a party and a candidate, but the candidate has to align themselves with the party, because the party can remove the candidate after they've been elected. So you vote for the platform and the candidate, not for the man. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, I don't know if they have more than 2 political parties. I know it looks like in the future we're going to have multiple political parties. And that's going to make some of the process, the political processes have to change. Because if you, like what happened in Georgia, if Georgia had only had 2 people running for each of the Senate positions, then there would not have had to be a runoff. One would have gotten a majority after a recount if necessary, if it was close. But because it was at least a third party, if not other candidates running, it diffused the vote so that none of the candidates received the majority vote. So some of those majority votes are probably going to have to change if we continue to have more and more political parties. Of course, we've got the independents. I guess we have the Green Party. We used to have the Tea Party a few years ago, or a few elections ago. So I don't know where it's moving. Professor Chomsky talked about that the Republican Party used to be in favor of free education. They were much more middle of the road, moderate than they are today. And there's not apparently, according to what I've concluded, most, or if not all, of the democratic countries in the world provide free education, except for the United States. Most all the other democratic countries provide medical care for everybody. And why that isn't a mainstream objective of our nation, either party, I don't understand. Free education. If other countries can afford free education, then why can't the United States? I just don't understand what group of people, what political parties, what lobbyists are against free higher education. Even when I first started college, most of the universities had free tuition for residents of the state, and you had to be a resident, I think, for 6 months or maybe a year. And California was ahead of most of the states in terms of free education. I think tuition has gone up, obviously, from when I first started college. I remember at the University of Minnesota, tuition, we had 3 quarters in a year, and the tuition was $95 a quarter. So that was, really reasonable. And junior colleges were free, completely free. Now, I haven't had kids in college for a while, so I don't know about the tuition, but I've heard, $30,000 a year for tuition. So all of these kids who are indebted with student loans, I'm all in favor of waiving the student loans, especially the federally funded student loans. Should just be wiped off the books. That's my thought. It's such an important aspect of education to have it be available for everybody who's qualified or who can, pass the entrance exams, which are necessary for the private, the 4-year colleges. I think at junior colleges you don't have to have a minimum test score, but the European school system, they have what's called tracking, and here apparently the boards of education and the leaders in education are against tracking. But in Europe, or in some of the countries in Europe, the ones I'm familiar with, they have, I think elementary school up until about age 13 is the same for everybody. But after age 13, they determine the talents of the kids, and then they provide education that's tailored to the child. Some people are readers, and some people are test takers. Some kids, have they're logical. Some of them have to see things, how they work. um, and and that's okay. There are individual differences, and the school system that just focuses on the average, they're going to miss the extremes in everything, not just intelligence, but in mechanical ability and reasoning and logical ability and tradespeople. So in some of the European countries, you can go college prep after age 13. You can go into domestic. You can go into sports, athletics, trades, the building trades, and I'm sure now they have the internet technology. So we somehow have focused on the average kid, which I don't know really what if there's an average kid, but we have to focus on allowing the children who don't fit that average mold still to be successful in life and offer them life skills so that they can function as adults when they get to be 18 years old. Um, you know, College prep education is not for everyone. It's not for every child. Children with reading difficulties, um, there are special programs that will allow them to learn even though they have reading difficulties. So I'm all for individualized education. And I've taught for, years in public schools. Um, and I taught adults in computer software application. Um, and there are just all kinds of people, and each one have a different, not each one, but there are styles of learning that we really have to address. So our education system must be revamped. Okay, well, that's enough for this one. We talked a little bit about my topic. I'd like to talk again about taxes. I got some real radical ideas about how to modify our tax structures to make it be more equitable for people. So we'll get into that topic next time. So for now, I want to just say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will share and like and hit that, subscription button and the bell. Do all that. So I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me. And be safe and be healthy. Have a positive attitude and bring sunshine to your life.